everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to work on building the walls to our room. As you might have seen in a previous video, I actually have some shelving units where I'm actually going to put my rooms onto. But I need walls in them to support the different pieces of furniture I'm going to put in. So what I've done is I've brought this picture from the charity shop, picture frame. It had no glass in it, so I got it for £1.50, and I picked up two other pieces, and I was able to just take the hardboard out of the back. So it was a little bit cheaper than just going and buying the hardboard, because I also got the frame and I've also got a couple of pieces of perspex from the other two pictures. So I'm just going to remove the back out of it and then I'll let you see what we've got. So this is the piece which I've just taken out, and it's slightly bigger than the piece which I want. Now this is going to be one of the side walls. I've got another piece here which will be the back wall, and another one just down here which will be the other side wall. So I'm just going to take these over to the table now and cut them so that we've just got the two side ones cut. I'm not too worried about this piece here, because what we're going to do is to have, it's not all going to be stuck to the wall, so I only need part of it stuck to the wall, so that'll just give me enough to hold it in place. So I've drawn a pencil line on there. I'm not sure how well you'll see this, but I'll try my best. There you go. The line is quite not showing that well, whether you can see the line itself, but it is there. So I'm just going to take my knife, and then I've got just a plain cutting knife. You can use any type of knife with this to get through it, and it will get through it eventually. You just need to take your time and score it and just slowly go through it. And I'm going to cut the whole thing, so I'm going to start at the top and just work my way down, following the edge of the ruler. Now I've got some metal ruler, and I just got this in Poundland, and they still sell them in there, so you might find that a help. I mean, I think they sell them other places as well. I don't think you've just got to go to Poundland. So I'm just going to cut it all the way down. So I've got quite a good cut. Hopefully you can see the cut where it is. I'm just going to pull it back a little bit, just like that, just to help it on its way. Okay, and then I'm going to carry on just cutting down through. You probably don't need to use the ruler now. And just keep going until you're all the way through. Oops, don't worry if that happens. Pop your knife back in and carry on going. Doesn't want to go through that bit there, does it? Oh, let's just keep going out, coming out. There we go, got it. There we go, get in there now. Okay, so that's that one off, and I'll just neaten that one off with my knife. And then you can take a piece of sandpaper and just go all the way around the edge on sandpaper. I'm going to do exactly the same on this one and on the other one. So I shall come back when I finish that. So I have all my pieces cut out, and I'm just going to use some duct tape to stick them all together, and then once I've got the big pieces at the back all stuck together, I will stick the foam board onto the hardboard. So I've just stuck it down with a piece of duct tape on the sides. I've actually got white so that it would match the foam board, but you can use any duct tape. And I've got some Gorilla Glue here, and I'm just going to place the Gorilla Glue all over the side which doesn't have the duct tape on, and then I'll put the foam board on top of it, and then I'll put some weights on it just to keep it down and make sure that it stays flat onto the ground. So I've just popped on a apron, and you want to be careful because obviously you don't want to get this onto your clothes or onto the floor or anything. I'm just going to pour some glue on if it'll come out. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I've just got a tape ruler, and I keep lots of these. These are £1.99, and you get 4 sponges with this. You can wash the sponges out afterwards if you want to, or you can just throw them. But that it just ends up being 50p, and they make it really good for doing this type of job, spreading the glue and paint and stuff around. So I'm just going to go all over it and put glue all over it. Make sure you get a nice coat, especially if you've got any bits like I did there, because when I turned it over there was a little bit on the back for actually putting it on the wall, so I've removed that. Oops. So I'm just going to carry on and go all over and spread this glue around all over the back of the board. It's probably handy to have a cloth with you, because I don't know if you can see I've got a bit on the floor. I don't really want to leave that there. So if you can have a cloth beside you just to clean up any bits which might have touched onto your floor. You can cover your floor obviously if you'd rather. So I've just weighted it down and we'll just leave it now to dry. It probably will take a good sort of 4 or 5 hours. So I'll probably come back to it tomorrow. I put weights from my husband's gym. I just happen to have them because the gym's in the next door room. But I think probably you could use magazines, books, anything heavy, just to weigh it down all over, just to make sure it sort of sticks and you get that contact. So that's all 3 layers done, and I'll come back tomorrow once that's dry and I will start covering it. So it's tomorrow and everything is dried. I've took the weights off and they're all stuck beautifully together. So the next thing we will do is tape the pieces together, and then we will cover everything with some sticky back plastic. So I've just taken off a long piece of duct tape, and I'm just going to press that down on one side, just like that. There. And then I'm going to fold it back on itself, like that. So what I'm going to do is just put a tiny bit of tape here and just stick that to the floor so it stays down there, and a tiny bit of tape, and I'm just going to stick that onto the floor. If you've got anything, be very careful when you're doing that, because you don't want to damage your floor. There we go. So I'm just going to stick that down, not very hard, just to keep it in place. And then I'm going to take my piece of board and I'm going to lay it so that I've got the top is touching the top and the bottom is touching the bottom. That's it. Okay, and then I'm going to press it on. There we go. Okay, right. That is pretty good. So open that one up, and it should be able to open all the way up. Okay, and I'll just get that out down, and I'll take off these pieces of tape on the bottom. Okay, so you need to do that on both sides, but before you do the other side, we're going to cut a hole out to make a door. So I've just marked out my door, and I've made it 19 inches by 6 inches. I'm just going to go around and I'm going to very, very carefully cut the whole thing out. I won't show you all of this because obviously it'll be a bit boring for you, but we would just cut it out exactly the same as we cut out the other pieces. We'll just keep going until we're all the way through. So I've cut through the board at the top, and then I'm going to start then going through the board at the bottom. If you want to, you can use a saw to do this. So I would have a go with the saw as well and show you how I've done it with the saw. So I've got my saw because I wanted to show you how easy it was to do it with the saw. It's a lot easier than with the knife. You can do is clamp your piece of thing to the table, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to damage the foam board. So if you were doing it at home, what I would suggest is marking it all out on this side, so that you can then clamp it onto here and it won't make a mark. The other thing you can do is put a piece of hardboard just here where you're going to clamp it. I'm just going to run over it like this just to show you. Now, what you want to do is let the saw do the work and not you, really. Don't try and push it through. Once I get started, it should be easy. Let's just hold it there. Hope you can see this. Hopefully you can see this. Let's have a look. And you see this okay? It's hard to look at the camera, look at that as well. Right, let's see. I'm just putting my finger on the end there to stop that from pulling up too much. And obviously you won't be able to get across this bit here. Okay, what you could do if you don't want to use the knife on it is drill it across there, but I'm going to go across and do mine with the knife just as we've done before. So I'll take you back to the table, cutting table, and I'll show you how we did that. So basically all I'm going to do again is just keep cutting until I've got all the way through, and that's it. And this, you should get a nice straight cut across the top there for this. I won't bore you with watching me do it the whole way. So I've got it off, and you need to put this piece away because this is going to be your door. Okay, so I'll get that and put to one side. And then this one, as you can see, we've got a little bit of debris on here, so you can either go around with your knife and just tidy up anything which you don't like. If there's any bits you sort of think that shouldn't be there, and that will get off most of it. And then you can take some gentle sandpaper and just give it a sand all the way around, because we are going to put a little bit of architrave on it. Okay, so just come all the way around and just clean up anything, and then I'll grab some sandpaper and sand it over. So I've just got a little sanding block. You can buy these into Poundland, they're £4 for £1. And I'm just going to go over the edge, and you can see how quickly that neatens that up. Go all the way around and just make sure it's nice and neat and smooth. You don't want any sharp bits or anyone to catch themselves. So here I'm just getting it all lined up. Okay, so I need to make sure that this touches the bottom and that touches the top. And then I'm just going to do exactly the same as we did with the other piece. What I'm going to do now is go over and put a piece along here, and I'm going to do it with it open. So I'm going to leave this piece open. I'm going to put a piece on the top here like that. Oops. There. Just like that. I'm going to have plenty to go around it. So stick that piece on. And then I'm going to turn it over, because what I want to make sure that it does is stick so that I've got enough room to be able to fold it over. Okay, so I'm going to put it all the way along, then you can just go around with your scissors and cut it off afterwards. Make sure it's pressed down nicely all the way along, and if you're worried you can always put more tape onto it. This duct tape is a good quality one, so that works really well, and it should open up beautifully. Okay, there you go, so that's fine. Okay, so before you do anything else, you probably want to clean the floor if you're working on the floor. That's how much rubbish I had out of mine, so I've just swept it up, and you don't want any of those bits getting inside of your sticky black plastic. So I'll sweep those up, get rid of those, and then we'll come back to the next. So it's here on the floor. I've got it all on the floor, and what I want to do now is just to take my duct tape, and I want to put it all the way around all of the outside so that you don't get any of that. It'll just make it much stronger on those areas, and you'll have it so that it actually lays nice and flat and sits nicely. So I'm just going to start, and I'm going to just do a small piece at a time. You don't want to go and try and do the whole thing, it just gets all caught up. So I'm just going to do one piece at a time. And I'll just cover all the edges. There we go. And then I'll just fold it around. Pull it around first before you stick it down on the other side. It does seem to lay a little bit better. And then you can cut off any excess at the end. Okay. I'll do the same all the way around, even the inside of the door. So I've covered all the edges, and I think that makes it look much nicer. It also gives it a bit of extra strength. When you actually see this edge, you can see from the front that'll just look like a nice white edge. So if you want to, you can just put your sticky back plastic up and finish it here, or you can bring it around the side, and that will give it extra strength so it won't sort of snap or tear there. Okay, now the sticky back plastic. So this is the sticky back plastic I chose. I just like this particular design. I got it in a little shop which is close to us, and it was £1.99. I have found that if you can buy a little bit more expensive, you can afford a little bit more expensive vinyls, it is better. But I just want to use it for this, so I'm going to try it out and see if I can get it to work. So I've just done 2 pieces already, and this is the last part of my row. So what you would do usually is just measure it out and cut along these squares where you actually want the cut to be. But I'm going to do it like this, and what I want to do is I want to put it on and just get that very top corner where it meets the other paper, and then I want to come down and just check that that is laying in the way I want it to lay, because I want that to lay so it's touching the edge of that paper. And if I can get that on there, and it's doing that all the way down, and that is where I'm going to come across on my top. Just gently press it down along there. Okay, now what you want is you want to be on this side of the paper, so you don't want to come and sit on that side of the paper and push from that way. You want to do it on this side of the paper, and you want to get yourself a ruler, and you just want to come along and push all the way down. Now I folded my first piece under, but as you come along you can just gently pull it out, and you'll find it just moves out of the way. Keep checking that line on the edge there as well, that it's going the right way. Put your hand underneath and pull that paper if you see if it starts to get caught, and hopefully that should come down perfectly. With this one it's not so bad, because if it doesn't line up exact, because it's white underneath, it won't be so bad. There we go, it's coming nicely. This is the best way I've found of doing it. Just keep your ruler moving that paper out all the way down. And I found the ruler was best for this because it just gave you a little bit more of a longer length than something like, say, the thing for pushing. I use my circuit or something like that. Just take your time and get it nice and laying flat. I've got my knee against the edge of it here, and I'm sort of pushing against it with my knee so that it doesn't come down too far, and that's going down nicely. There we go. Now if you wanted to get one, and obviously this is just one row which I've put on here, this is the end of the first row. If you chose a different pattern, what you could do is have one which had a pattern. If it went different directions or whatever, you wouldn't have to worry it coming this way. You could have turned that piece of paper then and used that to do that end piece, but obviously I can't do that because my pattern all comes down in that direction. The other thing I wanted to make sure is I didn't put that piece against that piece, so it looks as if it's just all running along. So then take your knife or your scissors and just cut straight across the bottom. You should be able to get a nice cut, and it should sort of just run along that bottom there, nice and straight. There we go, and do the same with the top. Okay, this is going to be our last piece, and this is going to be the most trickiest piece of all, so that's why I've left it to last. We have to make sure that this line here is matching here. I've got a bit of a bumpy bit there, so I've got to be a bit careful going on that, and we need to make sure we go all the way over the door as well. So I'm just going to take it and lay it on, but I'm just going to just do that corner just again to the very edge of the paper. Okay, I'm going to bring my paper down and just check that that is in the right position so that it sort of lines up. Okay, so that's not too bad there, so I'm going to press that along the top. Okay, start that one off, and that's coming down okay. and that should come down and fit over there beautifully. The problem's going to be is when we get to this door piece, there isn't going to be anything there to push down. It's going to want to come in like this and in like this on this side, and that will pull that edge piece out. So we're just going to be very carefully and take it very slowly. Okay. Just go very, very carefully. Coming. Keep going carefully. That's it. And just gently pulling that paper down a little bit as we go, because obviously there's nothing there to press against on that inside piece there. So I'm not putting any pressure on this bit here, I'm just putting the pressure on here and here. Just do a tiny bit at a time. I'm not pushing down that edge at the moment here. I'm going to leave that until I've got to get the whole of it on there. So be very careful, because if you do pull it up too much, it will take the paper off the foam board. And there you go, it's off there. Well, there we are. Okay, so I'm going to take that off, out the way, and I'm going to come over here and very carefully I'm just going to come along and bring my thumb down and push that into, because this is where our seam is, where it joins the other piece, and that's gone in really nicely. Okay, and I'll take my knife. Not a good idea to sit on it, and then I'm very carefully, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slant my knife just slightly, and you can see through this paper, which is quite nice. So I'm going to go in where that corner is, and I'm just going to take my knife and come in there and come down in a nice straight line. Now you won't see the inside of this too much, so I wouldn't worry too much, because we're going to put some coving on the door. So I've got that one sort of slanted that way. When you come down on this side, you want to slant it the other way, so I will go around to the back of the paper and do that as well. Okay, so I'm just going to come in like that and just slant it slightly so it's leaning backwards, just very slightly. I might have to go that way. If you buy a little bit more expensive vinyl, it might be better. I just grabbed the first one I could find. I'm just coming in along here now and keeping my knife slanted back like that, just backwards slightly like that, so it's sort of catching on where it's going and running along. Might have a couple of bumps and that in it because of the paper, but that I'm quite pleased with. There we go. And if you wanted to save that piece, which is cut out for another project, I might work on a table or something like that, and just pop it back onto your backing paper. There you go. Okay, and we're just going to cut the top off here and the bottoms off there. So this is our room. This is how it will actually look when it's all finished, apart from the wall units will be up on the wall. I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. It looks really great. What I'm going to do now is to start putting all the extra bits onto it and putting fixing the wall units and that to the wall once they're finished painting. Now this is a foldaway room, but I'm actually going to have it and keep it out like that, so that I'm going to screw the things to the wall. If you wanted to make yours so that you could just put it up and put it down, don't screw anything to the wall, just leave it as is, and then it will fold absolutely flat, and you can just put it away like that, and your other bits of doll stuff can go into a box or whatever. But I'll show you how it folds down flat. Let's see if I can do it. So just lift it out from where the toys are, and it just folds up one and two, just like that. So you've just got that to put, that would go under a bed or behind a unit or something. Okay, so that's it, that's your unit all made up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Goodbye.